If you're like me, a child of first-gen immigrant parents, there's a really good chance you've experienced your relatives making out-of-pocket comments about your appearance, especially about your weight. You probably also know this is due to cultural differences. In places like East Asia, it's not taboo like in America to make comments about people's weight to their face. Though I'm sure this very much varies from family to family, for my environment, these comments definitely held a negative connotation. I'm a Korean American, so I will be focusing on Korea. The beauty standard in Korea is to be thin. If you are especially a girl who doesn't fit into the mold, then you get banished to the shadow realm. I mean, just look at the K-pop industry, for example. It's really, really concerning. So, lo and behold, when I was about 11 or 12 years old in America middle school, I really liked eating food. So, I gained some weight. I became a chubby child. It wasn't like a crazy amount, but it was enough for my pediatrician to be like, maybe you should start losing some weight. And all of the other adults in my life had also noticed. And of course, they did not sugarcoat their comments at all. They went ahead and pointed out all different types of things about my body that they thought was wrong and that they thought I should fix. So that was nice. Back in my day, before Sephora kids and their drunk elephant over consumerism, middle school was a time where a lot of preteen girls played around with that crappy preteen makeup. Like, for example, the questionable Claire's makeup collection, like their lip glosses that always ended up exploding in my bag. You know, I wanted to feel pretty, like all of the other girls out there. So I tried putting on lip gloss. If I remember correctly, it was just like a clear one. And one of the adults in my life saw me putting on lip gloss and then they laughed at me and told me my efforts were like putting lipstick on a pig. I like to say that I have a goldfish memory, but comments like that, they kind of live with me forever, you know? I remember very specific things like that, and they kind of just haunt me till this day. As someone who is now obviously older and understands the nuance of these things better than I did when I was in middle school, I'd like to give the adults that were in my life like the benefit of the doubt. I'm pretty sure their intentions were good and that they only wanted what they believed was best for me. The execution was just really bad, and unfortunately, intention does not undo the damage that had been done. When I was a kid, I took everything people told me to heart, and I felt incredibly ashamed of myself. I mean, of course I did. I was the kind of person who took everything at face value. I was also the kind of kid who was very desperate for approval, which made me more than willing to change myself. It's common knowledge that everybody in middle school is insecure, but I think for me, my weight gain was the catalyst for a self-hatred that honestly wouldn't go away for a very long time. So I'd like to insert a trigger warning for the following part of this video. I will be talking about having a bad relationship with food, so please proceed with caution, and if you don't want to hear about it, you could skip to this timestamp. I became obsessed with losing weight. It was the very unhealthy and all-consuming kind of obsession where the only thing I thought about 90% of the time was needing to lose weight. It took up so much of my brain space and it basically impacted every aspect of my life. All I could think about was, what did I eat? What do I plan to eat? What I plan not to eat? And needing to exercise. I obsessively counted calories like my life depended on it, and I obsessively exercised like my life depended on it, which obviously it didn't. Yeah, so unfortunately I started skipping meals regularly, even hiding in the bathroom during lunch so that my friends wouldn't notice that I wasn't eating anything. During a time in my life where I needed the proper nutrition to grow up, I was doing everything I could to force myself not to eat. Looking back, I really do mourn the time and the childhood that I kind of lost over this obsession. Everything just got consumed with the obsession of wanting to change myself because I hated myself. I believe middle school is a time to be cringe and free, not whatever the hell I was doing. When I was trying to lose weight, I took these like body check videos I guess maybe I was trying to keep track of my progress. I actually still have some of the videos and I was looking at some of them recently. Do you know what I looked like? I looked like a kid. But back when I was taking those videos, I really believed that my body looked like something that it wasn't. I thought I was ugly and unlovable, which I guess really goes to show how scary body dysmorphia is. So we all know what happened to the world in 2020. While I was stuck at home and depressed during, that time, I was pretty sedentary, so I ended up gaining back some weight. At that time, I didn't particularly care because, again, I was depressed and nobody was gonna see me outside of like the Zoom camera anyways. But then eventually lockdown ended and I was forced to start leaving my house, and with every photo I would see of myself, my self-esteem was just going down the gutter. And even though my obsession with calorie counting had kind of calmed down since middle school, the body dysmorphia never went away. As I always had, I hated the way I looked. My burning desire to change the way I looked came flooding back, and I was absolutely mortified at the idea of going back to how I looked when I was chubby and conventionally unattractive, because I remembered every single thing that was said to me, and I remember what it was like to feel invisible and unlovable because I was ugly. My bad relationship with food got worse again when I was in my junior year of high school, which was kind of like when everything kind of shifted back to normalcy. Once again, I started obsessively controlling what I consumed, and there were many days where I would just straight up eat nothing. I didn't have the energy or the time to go crazy with exercising like I used to, so I went even harder with restricting my diet. Safe to say, I was very miserable, and I remember every time I washed my hair, a concerning amount would fall out. I always tell people that the reason I lost so much hair in high school was because of stress, but if I'm being completely honest, I think the real reason was because of my really bad relationship with food. Maybe because I was also distracting myself with college preparations and all of the other things, but I hadn't really thought much about how bad it had gotten. Maybe I just convinced myself I was being disciplined or something. But in reality, my entire life ended up revolving around what I ate, what I looked like. There were probably like a lot of times when I was like with other people and I would have to be careful not to show that I had a problem. I don't want my friends to worry about me. Food, which is just supposed to be nutrients for your body, it's supposed to be a joy in life, it just became a constant battle in my head for me. And it was just so exhausting. Even after I reached the goal weight I had set for myself, my body dysmorphia was the worst it had ever been. So no matter what milestone I hit, I was never satisfied with myself. Something I talked about in my previous video, which if you haven't watched, you should totally go check out after this video, is that up until pretty recently, I didn't have much of an identity outside of what other people wanted from me or what I thought other people wanted from me. Because of that, my self-worth felt entirely conditional. Like, I only deserve love and kindness and respect if I met certain standards, and in this case, it would be beauty standards. But standards like that are always changing, and they're always unrealistic and out of reach for most people. So no matter how hard I worked or how much I was harsh to my body, that happiness that I was chasing, it would always be out of reach. My healing process was pretty slow and not the greatest because I never sought professional help, nor did I have anyone I could really confide in about something like this. Like many of the other troubles in my life, I just bottled it up and tried to weather the storm by myself. 10 out of 10 would not recommend. It was after I finished high school and I slowly regained my grip on my self-worth and began building my identity outside of what other people wanted from me that things got better. I still have some body dysmorphia left over, but that's probably gonna take a really long time to actually go away, if it actually ever does go away. While I no longer have like such a bad relationship with food, it's definitely still far from perfect. The after effects of, I guess, like everything that I went through, they definitely still haunt me. Most of the time I'm fine, but there are some days when old habits really want to come back. It comes in waves, but the waves have been less and less frequent as the years go by. So I think that's a good sign. Also, I'm seeing a therapist now. If you've never seen a therapist before, you should go to therapy. I'm not someone you should be asking medical questions because I'm just an unqualified teenager sharing her story on YouTube. If you need any help whatsoever, please don't hesitate to seek professional help like I should have when I was younger. I will have resources linked in the description. Please stay healthy and hopefully I will see you in the next video.